Now to our special report, and the first in a series we'll be running this week on China's growing influence on the world stage. Tonight we begin with a report from our political editor Chris Uhlmann and a 5-month-long Four Corners Fairfax investigation that shows Beijing is active across a vast array of fronts here in Australia. That includes directing Chinese student associations seeking to influence academic inquiry, co-opting community groups and controlling most Chinese language media on our shores. And tomorrow, Four Corners will track millions in Chinese-linked donations to show the access and influence that has been bought in Australian politics. This is the story of how Chinese soft power comes with a very hard edge.
The late-night warning to Parliament from Australia's intelligence chief couldn't have been clearer.
Espionage and foreign interference continue to occur on an unprecedented scale, and this has the potential to cause serious harm to the nation's sovereignty, the integrity of our political system, our national security capabilities, our economy and other interests.
And there's one nation that worries Australia's defence and security agencies more than all others.
It is no secret that China is very active in intelligence activities directed against us. And it is more than cyber.
The departing Defence Chief noted that Chinese Communist Party influence in Australia isn't limited to the cloak and dagger world of spies or creeping through internet portals to steal political and business secrets.
The Chinese government keeps a watchful eye inside Australian Chinese communities and effectively controls some Chinese language media in Australia.
The Vision China Times is one of the few local Chinese language media companies not running Beijing's propaganda. Its director, Don Ma, is proud of his independence.
Because I love Australia and I want to do something in return to the Australian society.
But stories critical of Beijing drew the attention and the ire of the Communist Party. So its intelligence agency began targeting his advertisers. One was an Australian-based migration company.
Because he has an office in Beijing, then China's Ministry of State Security went to his office and asked him to stop advertising in our newspaper.
At first, the migration agent resisted.
Then the Ministry of State Security stayed in their office for 2 weeks, disrupting the normal operation of their business. So, in the end, their boss said to us that there's nothing he could do but to stop the advertisement.
Louisa Lim was China correspondent for America's National Public Radio. Now a Melbourne-based academic, she's been disturbed by what she sees here.
China's really using Australia as a bit of a petri dish.
And the experiment is how hard the Chinese Communist Party can push.
The level of Chinese involvement here does seem to be deeper and more extensive than in other countries when it comes to both the control of the media and the mobilization of community groups here in Australia.
This demonstration on Melbourne's streets in mid-2016 barely rated a mention in the Australian media. The Vision was shot by a Russian-owned broadcaster. Australian Chinese citizens marched with Chinese students and nationals to make it clear where their loyalties lay in the disputed South China Sea.
The South China Sea belongs to China.
What wasn't clear, and what a Four Corners Fairfax investigation has proved, is that media organisations with links to Beijing's propaganda arm organised the protest, provided the flags and banners, and scripted the slogans.
I think what's interesting is the way in which the Chinese community in Australia is being used. We are seeing this large-scale mobilization of community groups. For example, when Li Keqiang, the Premier of China, came to visit recently,
whistling up demonstrations, buying up media, standing over publishers and directing student and community organisations, these signs of the Chinese Communist Party muscling up here are worrying our intelligence agencies. And there is a deeper concern that millions of dollars in political donations are buying access and influence in the corridors of power. Chris Uhlmann, ABC News, Canberra.